Okay, one last task to go, and that's just to format our dates so that instead of displaying this horrid date string, we just display the dates formatted in words. So a few things we need to do to achieve this. But first of all, we'll go back to our activity detail chat, and what we'll do is we'll use a dateFNS function called format distance to now. And my auto import is playing nicely for dateFNS all of a sudden. So then we can wrap this around our comment created at, and this should, in theory, give us the time in words. So how long ago was this comment made? But if we go back to our application, then of course we're going to fail because what we're getting back from our API as a date is a string. So this crashes our application and we get this nasty looking invalid time value. But that's because our comments are not formatted as JavaScript dates. And we need to pass the format function a date object as opposed to a string. So what we'll do inside our comment store is when we receive comments, then we're going to make the date a JavaScript date. So what we'll do when we load our comments, first of all, we're going to make sure that we set the date. So let's open up some curly brackets so we can add additional statements inside the run-in action. And what we'll do before we assign comments to list.comments, we'll say comments.forEach, and we'll take each comment, and inside here we'll say comments.createdAt equals, and we'll say new date and comments.createdAt. And then we'll just do the same for the comment we get back when we receive a comment. So once again, we'll just open some curly brackets. We'll take this comment or this line and paste it inside. But before we push our new comment, we'll say comment.createdAt is equal to new date and comment.createdAt. And this should fix our application. If we refresh the page, now we can see our page loading and we see the comments inside here. However, notice that we've got the about 7 hours ago. In fact, I should add ago onto the activity detail chat as well, and after the created app we'll say ago, and this says about 7 hours ago. Do I believe this? Well, no, I didn't add this comment about 7 hours ago. It was several minutes ago. But this is the consequence of how .NET, an entity framework, deals with dates. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I store something as a UTC date, I want to see it coming back as a UTC date. But if I just go back and inspect and open up the DevTools and we go to the Network tab, we've still got it filtered to just WebSocket. So let's just refresh this page and we'll get the connection that we're working with. And if we take a look at the load comments, then what's coming back is the fully created at is a normal time string, but it doesn't have the UTC information. And UTC, a date that's in UTC would typically come back with a Z at the end. And then our client's browser is going to say, aha, I'm going to format this date as UTC, but I'm going to display it as local time, so it will add the offset to take care of that. But look what happens when we add a new comment. So I'll just keep the DevTools window open, and I'll just type in a new comment. And this time we get less than a minute ago. And if we take a look back at the DevTools to see what we get back from this, and let's move this up and go back to the chat, and where we've got the receive comment, if we look at the date we get back from SignalR, and this is not coming from our database, this is coming from us just adding a new comment and it's being returned as a comment and not just being retrieved from our database, then it does append the Z onto our comments. So we've got correct information for our comments that we add, where it's not being retrieved from our database. But when we get the data from our database, then it doesn't append the Z to say it's UTC time. Like I say, that doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. I'm sure there's a reason behind this, but there's a simple solution to this. And what we can do is we can go back to our comment store, and where we see where we're loading comments, then what we'll do is we'll just manually append the Z, and we'll just add the comment.createdAt plus Z, And then any comments we receive, and in the load comments method, we're getting these directly from our database. Our receive comment we already know is coming not from our database, but from our SignalR hub. So it has the Z appended already. And if we go back and take a look, what we'll find when we refresh the page and load a new batch of comments from our database, we'll find that the time information is correct. And if I add another comment, then we get the correct information there as well. So now we have a working chat system in our application. Anybody that connects to this will be able to comment to our activities. And if we want to check some other functionality, do we have this functionality immediately on creating an activity? Well, let's just check. And if we say test activity with comments and we give it a description and we pick a category and we pick a date and we just say test and test for the city and click submit, then can we add a comment immediately? Well, yes, everything works as it should do. And the only other change I really want to look at just now is also putting the form at the top and having the comments come in reverse order. So if I type in test 1, I would like to see test 1 at the top, and I would also like to see the form at the top as well. So just a small change to make for this functionality. And what we need to do, we need to go to our comment list, and we're going to change the order by to order by descending, so that we get the newest comments at the top and the oldest at the bottom. And what we'll also do is we'll go to our store, our comment store, and instead of saying comments.push, we can use the unshift, which will place the comment at the start of the array. And the only other change we'll make, we'll take our form in our activity detail chat component and we'll just put it at the top instead of at the bottom. So we'll grab our formic form and just cut this, and we'll just move it just underneath the segment above the comment group, and that should suffice. And if we go take a look, and we'll just refresh this page, and we can see the newest comment at the top, the oldest comments at the bottom, and what we should have is, as we add new comments, they appear at the top of the chat form. And it will just keep our oldest comments going further and further down, and the newest comments will appear at the top. And that's what we're looking for. Okay, just one thing left to do, and if we take a look at the console to take a look at this and take a look at our connections, then notice we're getting an error on occasion. And if I just go back to the activities, so what we'll do, we'll just do a couple of experiments just to demonstrate the bug that we have here. And I'll click on past activity 2. We see the error in connection, but we do eventually make the connection and it's working fine. And if I just clear the errors again, or the console again, go back to activities, if I click on the same activity, works just fine. And it's only when I click on a different activity that we see a connection error, or at least an initial connection error. And what's going on here is we're not clearing our activity from our store when we leave the activity details page, as we still have the selected activity from the previous activity that we were viewing still in our store. So what we need to do when we dispose of our activity details page, we also need to clear that selected activity in memory. So what we'll do, we'll head back to VS Code, and what we'll do is we'll go to our activity store, and what we're going to do in here is we're going to create, let's just scroll down to the bottom, and what we're going to do in here is we're going to create a method called clear selected activity, and it won't take any parameters, but all we're going to do is say list.selected activity equals undefined. And then what we'll do, we'll go across to our activity details page, and what we want to do inside this use effect is use list to clean up after ourselves. So we'll just destructure the method that we've just created, the clear selected activity, and then what we can do is in our use effect we can say return, and then we'll say clear selected activity. And what we should find now is this clears up the problem, because we're no longer going to have the previous selected activity in memory as we move away and go back to another activity details page. So I'll just refresh this page, And I've got a missing dependency, of course. We need to add this in the dependencies. So let's add this in there. And I'll head back once again. And let's just refresh the page. And that's more like it. So I'm inside an activity, and we'll go back to our activities. And we'll pick a different activity. And what we should find now is that we get the correct responses. And I can pick another different activity. And we're not seeing any errors in our connection and our disconnection now. And that's what we're looking for. So this brings us to the end of this section, and what we'll do is we'll go back and commit our changes into source control. And what we'll do is we'll just say end of section 19, and we'll stage our changes and commit our changes, and then we'll just push our changes to the GitHub repository. And we'll wrap this up with a summary.